Okay. Shit. How's everybody doing?
Good. Yeah, good. How are you?
I'm okay. All right. So I'm Professor Gallagher, and this is econometrics. And we're going to hold this class on Zoom. And I just gave you that poll, and so some of you are okay with it being online. Can anybody want to say why that's okay? Okay. Will Ainsworth?
Here.
Can you all put your videos on, please? Caleb?
Here.
Caleb, don't you have video?
Yeah, just give me 1 minute here.
Robert Anderson?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, it's Brody, right?
Yeah, go by Brody.
Joe Bevilacqua.
I'm here.
How do I say your name?
Bevilacqua.
Oh, okay, so I did good.
Yeah.
I've had you before, and I probably messed it up last time too, right?
You're just my counselor. I haven't had you for class yet.
It goes to show where my head is at. Joe Blakely?
Yeah, I'm here.
Morgan Brady?
Here.
Ryan Burns?
Here.
Drake Dettori?
Here.
Did I say it Dettori right?
Yeah, you did.
Charles Pasquale?
Here.
Did I say that wrong?
It's Di Pasquale.
Di Pasquale. Sorry for messing up your names if I do. Martin Estraverna?
Right here.
Dejor?
Here.
Bobby Fregale?
Here.
Bailey Gobin?
Here.
Did I say that wrong?
The last name is Gobian.
Gobian. Boucher Gane?
Here. Hi.
Ian Hart?
Here.
How do I say that?
Owen.
Owen. I'm sorry, man.
No problem.
Bet you've had to deal with that all your life, right?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. Alex Holden.
Yeah, that's me. Yeah.
Did I get that right?
Yeah.
How about that, huh?
Yeah, well done. Well done.
James Johnson.
Here.
Brooke Jupinka.
Here.
John Kenny.
Here, and I go by Jack.
Jack. Sorry.
Thank you.
Elias Cott.
Here.
Matt Lemon? Lehman?
Here, yeah, Lehman.
Lehman. Michael Mandola.
Here.
Where? Oh, there you are. Did you get into money and banking?
Yeah, I got in. Thank you.
Paige Miller.
Here.
Matt Morgan. I seen him earlier. He was like on the beach with sunglasses on. Matt Morgan. Brandon Morrow. Connor O'Brien.
Here.
Matthew O'Donoghue.
Here.
Shane Pensio.
Here.
Jessica.
Here.
No, I butchered that, didn't I?
It's supposed. Yeah, you said it right though. Jesse Fed.
Jesse Fed.
You could just call me Jesse. That's fine.
Ryan Full.
Here.
Zoya.
Here.
Marco.
Here.
Grace Seeley.
Hi.
Nick Slattery.
Here.
Carrie.
Here.
Chris Starkweather.
Here.
You got video?
The laptop right now I'm using doesn't have a camera, but I'll grab a buddy's for next class, so I'll have it working.
David Steria.
Here.
Nolan Toft.
I'm here.
Sean Wesley.
Here.
All right. Now let me ask you another question. I'm learning how to use this. So more than half of you are happy that this is online. In my money and banking class, everybody said they were upset that it was online. How come there's a difference?
We just don't want to catch corona.
Who said that? Dejor?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a valid point. I want to ask a question. I want to figure out, I want to ask a question. I want to ask how many are in your, in my other class? No. Sorry, don't do that. All right. So this class is huge. I suggested that they put this class online because I thought it might be easier because you know, we'll do a lot of coding and things like that. And it's easier, I think, maybe if we all are on the same computer. So most of you know me, I think, or have had me before or in something. So I don't feel it's important for me to go through like a introduction or anything like that, you know. We did that yesterday in money and banking. And, you know, if you, so, let's start with the syllabus. So I'm Michael Gallagher. My office is in Swan, but I'm in Connecticut right now. And I'm going to teach this class from mostly from Connecticut. Here's my phone number. That's my cell phone number, my Connecticut cell phone number, if you want to write it down. If you really need to get in touch with me, or you're having trouble getting in touch with me, you can shoot me a text, but say who you are, of course, because I won't know who you are. Yeah, and I'll leave that up so that because we're in such extraordinary times, you know. So the syllabus is pretty general. Vision, the St. Bonaventure mission, Franciscan values, right? They all look like this, don't they? All the syllabus look like this. So this course will develop both theory and practice of econometrics at a level that will allow you to be knowledgeable producers and users of empirical research. Multiple regression, correlation, dummy variables, simultaneous equation models, and methods utilized when classical assumptions are violated. So you should have had Math 122 and Stats 2. So we're going to do these things. I've got to put this in here. Advanced knowledge of econometrics, specifically hypothesis testing and estimation. Judge and critique other econometric research. Conduct one's own econometric-based research. And we're going to start to learn some coding. And we're going to use either R or Python. Required text, Introductory Econometrics, Jeffrey Wooldridge. It looks like that. Has anybody gotten it?
Yeah, I bought the book.
I think that, where'd you get it?
Amazon.
How much was it? Do you mind me asking?
I don't remember exactly, but I think it was like 35, 40 bucks.
To rent?
I bought it used, I think.
Okay. It's very affordable, in other words. Supplemental text. Using R for introductory econometrics, Florian Heiss, available here. So watch. That's this book. I highly recommend it. It has in R all the solutions to the problems in your textbook. But not only that, but here it is on the syllabus. There's a link to a digital version of the textbook. So you can buy the hard copy. Am I shouting? My wife would say, "Why are you shouting at them?" You can buy the hard copy, or you can read it online for free. If you go here as an HTML book, I'm waiting, see? So it's available to you on the syllabus. That's this book right here, Using R for Introductory Econometrics. It's supplemental to our main textbook, which is Introductory Econometrics. Okay? I'm going to require that you do your coding and problems for this course in R. How many of you have used some sort of R or coding or Python? Where have you done, Carrie?
Well, I had you for MBA 634 this summer, and we used R at the end of it.
Oh, that's right. That terrible course that I have to grade all your work now.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else? All right. That's what we're going to do. So Carrie's the expert. You can all ask her. Oh, Lord, this is going to be a freaking adventure, let me tell you. All right. So here's where you go to get R. This is on the syllabus again. This is the website, rproject.org. It's an open source statistical computer statistical package. Download R. Choose your preferred CRAN, Comprehensive R Archive Network. So look, pick one that's near you. If it were me and I was out at Bonaventure, I might use CRAN Case, which is being held at Case Western Reserve in Cleveland. So it's not so far away, you know. There's also, there used to be Carnegie Mellon, but I don't see it here.
I don't think we can see your screen right now. We just see the syllabus.
Thank you for telling me that. You see this?
Yeah, it's there.
So this is the website, our project. It was on the syllabus here. Okay? You see the syllabus now?
I can't.
So go here and download R. Pick the crayon that's nearest you. In your case, it's likely Case Western. You'll be asked to select what kind of computer you have, whether it's a Windows, whether it's a Mac, or whether it's a Linux machine. On the syllabus, oh, okay. Are you guys looking at Moodle now?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
the syllabus is here. The link to get R is here. There's a link to get a program called R Studio, which makes running R much easier. There's videos here. That's a link to the textbook that I showed you. And just bear with me one more minute. Okay, you're looking at my at the syllabus? Yes?
No.
No, still the using
What,
R.
Now?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's that. Homeworks. We're going to suggest numerous homeworks throughout the semester. 2 exams. Exams will be primarily theoretical. A major research project. So you're going to have to split up into groups of 3, and do a project, some sort of econometrics project. We'll discuss this more as we go along, but it will be presented by your group in that window of time between Thanksgiving and the end of the semester. Okay? University policies, instructor policies, blah, 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 right? And then this is roughly an idea of what we're going to do as we go through the course. Okay? Any questions? It's very weird because, you might not be on my screen because there's so many of you. And then when somebody speaks, their spot moves, you know? All right. So we're going to start with today, and I'm just going to talk a lecture about chapter 1 in that textbook. Is that cool? Everybody cool with that? Does anybody have any questions? Okay, you can see the slide. The slides are also up on Moodle. The nature of econometrics and economic data. What is econometrics? Econometrics, the use of statistical methods to analyze economic data. Econometricians typically analyze non-experimental data. Why is that? Anybody? Econometricians typically analyze non-experimental data. You know what I'm going to do? You guys are going into groups, and you can bullshit with each other for like 5 minutes. And then we'll come back and we'll start lecturing, all right? But when we come back, I want you to answer why we do non-experimental data. Michael, what's up? You didn't get into a group?
I don't have one. It says nothing on my screen. All right, there we go. Thank you.
Still not letting you in, huh? Well, you guys are freaking quiet. Don't you want to talk to each other?
You already
We
had
got
an
our
answer.
answer.
What?
We were quick to get an answer.
Does anybody have any questions that would be hard to ask in the big group that they want to ask now about the course or about me? Or have anxieties about whether or not this is going to work?
I have a question, but not pertaining to this class, so I'll just like shoot you a text or something after.
Okay. All right, I'm going to the next group. What's up with you guys? You don't have anything to say to each other?
We don't know what we're supposed to be talking about.
What?
We don't know what we're supposed to be talking about.
Aren't there lots of things to talk about?
I suppose, yeah.
Does anybody have any questions they want to ask in a small group that would be hard to ask in the big group? Does anybody feel like this may not work? Or are they anxious that this may not work?
This class or like all
Yeah.
of school? Oh, no.
The class.
I feel like the class is fine itself.
How about school? The whole school thing.
I don't know. In my opinion, I feel like it's kind of stupid to be here. It's just my opinion.
They're not letting you do anything, are they?
Not really.
They're making you just stay inside?
Pretty much.
So you're damned if you do and damned if you don't, right? If you go home, you can't play with anybody, and now you're at school, you can't play with anybody.
Pretty much.
Okay, I'm going to the next room.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey, what are you guys doing?
We were having some thrilling conversation.
It sounds it, yeah. I'm sorry to interrupt. Does anybody have questions that they didn't want to ask in the big group?
I'm all set.
Does
I
anybody
can't get
have
my
any?
camera to work.
What?
I can't get my camera to work. I think there's too many people on my Wi-Fi right now.
Oh, yeah.
I got 24 people in this house. You know, stressful.
24 people in the house?
Yeah, I live at Train.
Oh, yeah. Well, does anybody have anxiety about this working or not working, this class?
I'm just confused of what R is, like what we're downloading and stuff. I kind of got lost with that.
Okay. I'll go back and show you. That's a great question. I'm going to the next group. But there's a lot of you. So you're all chatting up a storm, I see. Does anybody have any concerns about the class that they want to say that they didn't want to say in a big group?
No.
Questions?
Nope.
How about concerns about just being at school at all?
I do have one question. Are the groups going to be randomly assigned for the project?
No, you can pick. Unless you don't know anybody, and then I'll assign you.
Okay.
Whatever works, you know? Okay, I'm going to the next group. Everybody's all chatty today, huh?
Yeah, very chatty.
Anybody have any questions that you didn't want to ask in the big group?
Oh, really? Nothing crazy.
What?
Not really, no.
No? Does anybody have anxieties that this is not going to work, this teaching online?
I think it'll be all right, to be honest with you. Like,
How about anxieties just that being at school is going to work at all?
Yeah, a little.
What were the other classes like? You got to go to class and wear masks?
Yeah, for a couple of them.
Yeah. Okay. All right, we're going to close all the rooms. Okay. In the breakout session, in the breakout rooms, I visited all of you, right? One of you had a question about R. One of you had a question on R. Just a sec, I'm sorry. So are you looking at the syllabus?
Yeah.
So when you go to this website and you download R, and you download R Studio, you get a program installed on your computer that looks like this. And it's a program. Can you see it now, R Studio?
Yeah.
It's a program that does statistical analysis. Similar to if you were to use Excel to run a regression, but much, much, much more powerful. So, and then you have to learn how to code. And you code in this box, and this is the console that runs the code that you're running. So I've just created a data set here, data frame. Just it's just gibberish, you know, nothing of any importance, just to demonstrate. So then I asked the program, what is the average of X1? X1 is a column of numbers that I've imported. If you could imagine that this is hours spent studying and test scores and GPA, you could run a regression. So what is the average of X1? And then this is the R code to tell you the mean of X1 is 4.5. The largest number in X2, here's our column X2, maybe 8 is the biggest number. Max of data X2 is 8. Can you guys see what I'm looking at?
Yep.
So estimate a regression of X1 on X2 and X3. This is just like pretend I'm doing this, you know? So this is the code for running a regression. And this is the result. It gives you the coefficients, the intercept, and the slopes. Tells you the standard errors, the F-stat. I forget which one of you asked me what R was all about. That is what R is all about. It's a language to do statistical analysis. To go out into the world, to go to Wall Street nowadays, you should know how to code. You should know whether you're coding, whether you can code in Python or R. They're very similar. Or, you know, some financial engineers will get into using Java, that kind of thing. But that's what I want you guys to learn in this course. So the course is 2 parts. It's theory of econometrics, where we test hypothesis and, you know, all that kind of stuff. But it's also the coding skills that job market requires. Yeah? So we're going to now, I'm going to share again and oh, yeah. Thank you, Carrie. I'm going to do that. I'm going to show, Carrie just suggested in the chat that I upload videos on how to do this. So I'm going to do that. Show you how to get R and sorry. I'm going to put those videos here. Shows you how to go and get R and how to download it and how to run some trivial code that I think you'll find helpful. It should be here and it's not. There's other code here that I'll introduce as we go along, you know. But for the time being, after class today, right away, I'll come and I'll upload those videos. So for the time being, let's go back to our PowerPoint. So econometricians typically analyze non-experimental data. Why is that? Did you guys think of it? Somebody shout it out.
It would be very costly to run an experiment. You'd have to change both business and government policy, and that would affect the lives of real people. So you have to look at historical data.
We have to look at historical data. Thank you, Matt. Excellent. Yeah. How would it be if the government all of a sudden said, hey, let's make minimum wage $2 and see what happens? Well, that would suck, wouldn't it? So we're not, ethically, we can't run experiments. We can't run experiments like that, right? We can't say, I want half of you class to start smoking and the other half of the class to never smoke, and then I want to see who gets sick, right? We can't do that. We have to witness in society what effect does industrial production have on GDP? What effect does exchange rates have on the value of the dollar, right? Those are the questions that you need to answer when you go to work and on Wall Street or wherever you go, you know? So that's what this is all about. So goals. Estimate relationships between economic variables. Exactly what I just said. Like what's the relationship between inflation and interest rates? Yeah. Test an economic theory and hypothesis. Well, just what I said. What's the relationship between inflation and interest rates? So, forecasting economic variables, evaluating and implementing government and business policy. Should they raise taxes? Should Trump sign more checks and hand out $600 to every person for the coronavirus stimulus? Those are the questions. So we need an economic model. And then often people don't do this. They jump right to the econometrics, yeah? So the economic model could be micro or macro. Often we use optimizing behavior, equilibrium modeling, right? You saw this when you did economics with what was the equilibrium of supply and demand, right? So establish relationships between economic variables, exactly like the price of ice cream and the demand for frozen yogurt, right? So demand equations, pricing equations, etc. Yeah. So here's Gary Becker, 1968, did this model of crime. This is an economic model. All we have here is y is a function of f of x, right? So that's very straightforward, and you remember that from 7th grade, yeah? So the hours spent in criminal activity is a function of how lucrative is it, right? The wage. How lucrative is it to work at the pizza shop instead of being a criminal? You know, some other income, maybe you have rental income or something like that, right? What are the chances you're going to get busted? That's going to affect the hours spent in criminal activity, right? What are the chances that you'll go to jail if you do get busted? That affects your hours in criminal activity. And then how long will you go to jail, right? So in places like Turkey, if they catch you stealing, they cut your hand off, you know? I mean, that's a pretty strong deterrent. You can bet your life in Turkey, I wouldn't steal anything, you know? So functional form is not necessarily specified. In other words, we don't necessarily know hours in criminal activities, how this is structured, you know? Here's another one, model of job training and worker productivity. So this is just a model that we're talking about. Wage is a function of your education, your experience, and the amount of training you have. Yeah. So these two things that we're talking about, model of crime and model of job training, where we have, y is a function of x, right? Y is a function of x. To remodel them as econometric models, here we've created a regression equation, yeah? So we have crime is a function of what you get paid for doing legal work and some sensitivity to that. That's what we're trying to estimate, beta sub 1 here. Some other income, what would you get if you worked, if you had rental income, and some sensitivity to that here, right? Frequency of how many times you've been busted before, that's going to affect how much criminal activity you do, right? So, and then frequency of how many times you've actually been convicted, and then, were you sentenced for a long time or not? And then, of course, how old you are. And then we have an error term, right? Unobserved determinants of criminal activity. This could be other things, right? Moral character, the wage in criminal activity, whether your mother and father were criminals, all that stuff plays into this, right? Here's the same example for the job training and worker productivity, right? We have wage, which is a function of your education, your experience, and your training. And then we have an error term. Maybe this is innate ability, quality of your education, and your family background. These are not explicitly accounted for, these kinds of things. Yeah? Most econometrics deals with the specification of the error U. So when we say hypothesis testing, the parameter beta sub 3 represents effective training on wage. Is it different from 0? How large is this effect? Let's see what comes next here, because I want to come back and talk about this. Okay, different kinds of data. So I'm going to talk about this. So look this is nothing more than a a regression equation. Am I right? So what we're doing in econometrics is saying, well, I want to see what is the effect of the fact that I went to Bonaventure instead of going to Cornell. What will the effect of that be on my wage, right? So that would be an estimate, a parameter that you're estimating through a regression equation, similar to what I just showed you. Yeah? So here, education. Yeah? So when you guys did statistics, you would estimate an equation like that, and then you would say, well, was it significant? Was it significant that I went to Bonaventure instead of Cornell on my wages, right? And that's where you test the hypothesis. Your hypothesis would be, well, students at Cornell get $10,000 more per year when they graduate than students from Bonaventure. And you're using this software to say, well, the slope is 0.3 and the t-value is 0.598. So you could say, well, that's not very significant. It doesn't matter whether I went to Bonaventure or Cornell. Do you see what I'm saying? That's what this is all about. That's what this course is all about. Is I want to take the things that you learned in Giles's or Todd Moe's statistics, and I want, instead of you having like a memorization of what is, how to solve, is it significant or not significant? I want you to understand, what does that mean? How do we interpret that stuff? It's like, I want to take your understanding of statistics to another level. And while I'm doing that, I want you to learn how to code so that you can go on your resume when you graduate from Bonaventure and say, I have Python coding experience, or I have R coding experience. Yeah, and have a tractable ability to use those tools when you get to your job. That's going to be a good thing, right? So it's a different avenue I want to go down. I want to go down an understanding avenue rather than just repeat back to me what I've told you. Yeah. So when I say, do a project or something like that, I want you guys to pick the project that you're interested in. Say you want to pick, well, how does this stock affect the returns on the S&P? Yeah? Something like that, something that's interesting to you. Okay? Does that help anybody? Didn't help me, and it made my throat sore. Let's look at some different types of data. Econometric analysis requires data, different kinds of economic data sets, cross-sectional, time series, pooled cross-sections, and panel or longitudinal. The method depends on the nature of the data used. Cross-sectional data, a sample of individuals at a given point in time. Yeah, so maybe we'll say, hey, how did all the 2015 graduates from Bonaventure, what is their salary level today? So cross-sectional observations are more or less independent. All those people are working in different jobs in different places. we have to take a random sampling of all those people to get an indication of what their salaries might be, right? Pure random sampling can be violated because maybe you had a grad assistant do the work and they just went to Charlotte and they got 500 Bonaventure graduates from Charlotte, and that's the end of it, right? So, you know, all those people, they're all doing some sort of finance work, and it's the random sampling is violated, right? So I'm just trying to spit out examples, right? Cross-sectional data on wages. So we have observation number, the wage, how much education they have, and this would make a nice regression equation, yeah, to help you predict wages. You want to predict, right? Well, you would imagine that the dude with 16 years of education is going to get a higher wage, right? And he's got 5 years of experience. Here's economic growth, right? Growth rate of GDP, government consumption, and then secondary education rates in different countries. So cross-sectional data. Time series data. Most of our stock prices or money supply or economic indicators are all time series. They're typically serially correlated. In other words, the order of observation contains important information. So Consumer Price Index this quarter is affected by Consumer Price Index last quarter. Yeah? So it's important. That would be time series data. It could be daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly, whatever, right? Here is time series data on minimum wage. We have the average minimum wage, average coverage rate, unemployment rate, GMP, average minimum wage for a given year. Pooled cross-section. 2 or more sections are combined in one data set. Cross-sections are drawn independently. This evaluates policy changes. For example, what is the change in property taxes due to house prices in a town, right? So we would need the price of houses for 1 year compared to the price of houses for another year in that town, and then compare the tax regime change. And then here's how we do it, right? We have before the taxes, we have 250 observations, and then after the taxes, we could compare the difference. Panel data is the same cross-sectional units over time. They have cross-sectional and time series dimensions. So we're following cross-sectional units over time. They can account for time invariant unobservables, and also model lagged responses. So crime in a city over a period of 2 years. And here we have a 2-year panel on crime cities. So we have some city Olean and then some city Olean between 1986 and 1990, right? Causality and the notion of ceteris paribus. Who can tell me what is ceteris paribus? Morgan, that looks like a very comfortable chair you're in.
Yeah, it is.
Is that in your dorm room?
Gardens.
Oh, in the gardens?
Mm-hmm.
What does ceteris paribus mean?
Everything else remains the same.
Oh, thank you. That was Caleb, wasn't it?
Sure was.
Definition of a causal effect. Most economic questions are ceteris paribus. How does variable y change if variable x is changed, but all other relevant factors are held constant? So the question maybe is, what happens to your wage if you change your years of schooling, but everything else is the same, remains the same? Your innate ability, your level of training on the job, and whatever else they said, right? That's what ceteris paribus means. So normally we are interested in the effect of one thing on another thing. Causal effect of fertilizer on crop. By how much will the production of soybeans go up if you put more fertilizer down? So the assumption here is that everything else that affects that is held fixed. Right? So if you were to try to conduct an experiment, you would have to randomly assign different amounts of fertilizer to different plots and compare. The experiment would work because amounts of fertilizer is unrelated to the other things like amount of rainfall, quality of the soil, etc. So here's an example of what I was talking about earlier. We can't take people and say, hey, you're going to have 18 years of education and you're going to only have 8. That wouldn't be moral, would it? It wouldn't be ethical. We have to say, oh, let's observe that this person has 18 years of school and that person has 8, and how much are they making different? Yeah? Law enforcement on city crimes, if you say, this is the same thing of causality, and if a city is randomly chosen, given 10 additional police officers, would the crime rate fall? Well, you have to compare two cities that are basically the same, except that one has more police officers than another. And minimum wage. By how much will unemployment go up if minimum wage is increased by a certain amount, holding other things fixed? If we increase minimum wage, do you think unemployment will go up?
Yes.
We have some heads shaking yes. You could phone a friend, you could call Mark Wilson.
Did you want an explanation why?
Sure, go ahead.
I was just saying, like, if minimum wage goes up, then, like, say, like in a fast food chain, if they have to meet a certain profit margin, they can't meet it because they're paying their employees more, they're going to have to fire people.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, Joe. All right. On that very positive note of feedback from students, maybe we should call it a day. I think we're done with the slides. Let me just look. Oh. This is just says testing theories of economic theories, testing predictions of your theories. Okay. I want to quit for today. I want to show you that Notice there's problems up here on chapter 1 on Moodle. Have a look at the problems. When we come back on Thursday, we'll split you into groups and then have you come back and we'll discuss those problems. Also, on Thursday, I'd like to hear your experiences about getting R. And as soon as we hang up this call, I will upload some videos to the Moodle page. All right? If anybody has any suggestions on how to make this better or any concerns, please reach out and ask me or talk to me about them. Okay?
Good.
All right, everybody. Have a good night.
All right.
Everyone.
See you Thursday.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Healthy.